The first junior show in Bashaw, which was put together by an intrepid group of volunteers that were actually acknowledged into the Alberta Angus Hall of Fame a few years ago as breed builders, happened in 1976.
It was one of those cutting-edge shows at that time. There was no other junior programs within the other associations that took on such an event.
4 of the founding members, it was their idea. They decided to start the Junior Angus Heifer Show for one reason, and that was that they believed that having juniors start their own show or start their own herd would be a way of ensuring that we had good Angus breeders in the years to come. So those 4 people were Jim Miller, which was our dad, Bill Maltson, Frank Sharp, and Norm McLean. And once they decided this was going to be a great idea, then they joined, some other committee members joined, and that was my mom and Pam Miller, Ollie Sharp, Lorraine Benke, and Ed Fell.
The purpose of what the program was for them was to look at youth and say, we want to encourage you as people in this industry currently to build your own herd, to get involved in the industry as cattlemen and as breeders, to continue the legacy of what Canada has always been known for, which is some of the world's top genetics.
I think it was a singular platform that the association used to serve a lot of purposes, really, to develop those hands-on practical skills. It inspired a lot of ambition, and I remember taking the print marketing competition very seriously when I was a youth, and I'm really grateful that they developed competitions that were so outside the box.
Actually doing the oral judging and in-ring judging, not just the cards anymore. There was a marketing competition, so there was actually a sales pitch, but also like a artistic aspect of that.
I only remember ever showing the names of 2 cows, Enchantment 319B, and that was the year that I won it, and I was young, like 12, and Jane, and that was it. Those are the only 2 that I remember. I can't even remember a single name of an animal that I showed there, and I had one every year. I just don't even remember because it wasn't about that. It was more about seeing friends, meeting people, learning more about the cattle industry.
I was too young to show at that point. I was only 5 or 6, so I actually bought a stuffed calf that was, a teddy bear type calf that was there, and I showed him a bit and had some pictures taken.
Bashaw was a real hub for Angus cattle. There was a lot of Angus breeders and some very notable Angus breeders in the area. And I think that those 4 people who's the original brainchild of the Canadian National Junior Angus Heifer Show started that because to promote Angus cattle, to start new breeders and to really push the whole breed forward.
There would be no adult participation once the cattle got to the grounds. And one of the other rules was to show some pride and ownership was that the animals shown by the juniors would have to be owned by that junior and registered in their name.
The original concept was developed so that we could create breeders, not necessarily owners because the kids already are part of the farm and own it, but really to create breeders and to help young people learn how to be breeders and how to care, animal husbandry, and those sorts of things.
For me, it was pushing myself to try new things. So, like I said, I had done the written cards, I've done the public speaking, all that, but I hadn't done some of the other activities they had presented, and it was really about some growth and development.
I think that you could really look at the leadership of that group that created this event in those fairgrounds in Bashaw as leading the way for Angus nationwide.
I think it was an evolution of being one of the young kids to then growing up to being the older kids to be helping other guys and stuff.
There's not one accomplishment, whether with cattle or with personal skill, that I even particularly remember because we just remember so much about the relationships and the fun we had.
I remember the football games after supper and we go roller skating in the rink at times.
My experience at those shows were the humans and the connections and understanding how big the world is and how many different viewpoints people have, and watching, you know, some people who maybe didn't have the same life I did growing up.
I think the unique part about the relationships that we formed there is that we formed them in a competitive arena, and the friendships are a wonderful thing, but to form friendships with people that you also grew to greatly admire and respect them as a competitive opponent, that's a really different level of friendship.
The best memories were not the ones with the cows. It was always with the people.
There was business that took place on those hallowed grounds at Bashaw. It perhaps started as friendship business and show business, but it ultimately created huge business dealings that have had a global impact.
I went from a kid that was absolutely terrified to stand up in public and speak to being able to judge, gain confidence at Bashaw on that junior level with the mic in my hand, and then go on in later years to become an active board member for the Canadian Angus Association.
The confidence that these and the abilities of these kids now, from the exposure that they got going to these junior shows, it's just mind-blowing.
It is impressive to know that we are in good hands as we move forward, and our junior programs play a large role in that by preparing our younger members and our youth to be successful, be confident, to lead us into the next century.
Part of that development of youth is that it allows them to be more than just the cattle. The cattle are a huge piece of it, but it develops them as a human. I think that this history of the industry is something that is something that is incredibly important to share and incredibly important to continue to celebrate.